Stay tuned. Your broadcast is about to begin.
Stay tuned. Your broadcast is about to begin.
Stay tuned. Your broadcast is about to begin.
Stay tuned. Your broadcast is about to begin. Stay tuned. Your broadcast is about to begin.
Live from Bennigan's Restaurant, it's the High Valley Sports Online Coaches Shows. Tonight, coming up, 6 o'clock, Steubenville Big Red head coach Reno Suckoch. At 6:30, Indian Creek's Andrew Connor. At 7 p.m., Toronto's Josh Frankie. And at 7:30, Steubenville Catholic Central's Eric Meek. And we're joined by Steubenville Big Red head coach Reno Suckoch, whose team with a huge win on Friday night against Wheeling Park, 69-28. And Coach, is that the highest scoring game you've ever had as a coach?
I think. I never never thought about it.
That's a lot of points.
I don't know.
Well, the good thing is everybody gets to play, right? Everybody got in there for extended periods of time, and
It was just. It was a night where everything clicked. It was not Park's failure, not our superiority. Just that it was one of those nights.
let's go back. Everybody talks about scheduling, and I've always said we always give credit for Wheeling Park, Brook, teams like that are not afraid to play you, that will play you because they know they're going to get better, along with the chance of getting exposure. But Wheeling Park's always willing to step up, going back to the days of Coach Nardoni, and but this year it just seemed like, I know they were fired up. I have friends of mine down in that area, and they're like, "This is the year, this is the year," and I guess their mantra now is wait till next year. But when you come into this game, did you think you were going to be that kind of successful against Wheeling Park altogether?
Well, I just think, first of all, Anybody takes that out of context. I think that it's more important to be a good winner than it is to be a good loser. And I don't take credit for anything that went on Friday, and it was one of those nights. And I don't criticize them, and it was a humble victory, and I leave it at that. We had no idea of having 10 possessions and 10 scores. I thought that game would be like a 28-14 game. I always thought we're going to win. I always think we're going to win, but I think that the thing that turned it around was just the 4 touchdowns over 50 yards, and which gave them the ball, another time. And like I said, it was one of those things. That sometimes when you're running the ball efficiently, teams sort of move up and try to load up the box, and if you get through the first wave, then everybody else is already beaten on the other side. There's no you're chasing at that time. But I don't want to say anything to. I respect the game of football, and it was just that was our night. If we played again, it could be different. But I respect Wheeling Park. I respect the game of football, and I want our players and hopefully our fans to feel the same way.
Coach, you got a chance to play a lot of people, and they got to play a lot of quality minutes. And you got some serious positive output from some kids. I like the Falks boy, the running back. He's a sophomore or junior?
He's a junior. Well, he didn't play because of the score. He played early in the game, and only the last drive we had the younger kids in Park did the same thing. But we've been playing a lot of kids all year, and I think that in the long run that's going to help us, and it especially helped us Friday night because we had Bozica as our starting tailback. We used Spencer in short yardage and goal line, and our backup was Falks. And that's how we did it. We played 6 receivers, and we played 6 offensive linemen, maybe 7 offensive linemen, I'd say. And because we played a sophomore at tight end, and we played another sophomore at left guard. He's our second left guard. And then we played 2 tight ends, and we played 4 fullbacks. But we played that the whole game, and we've played it all year. So we really didn't do anything, out of the ordinary. That's just what we've been doing. And when you play a lot of kids, we're just proving to ourselves that the more they play, the better they're going to get. And I didn't see any letdown, when we were changing personnel. There was no letdown. And defensively, we don't play as many kids defensively. We play a lot of defensive linemen, but we don't play a lot of linebackers or secondary people. Yeah. But offensively, we play a lot of people. And I think we started the season out a little bit slow on offense because offense takes a lot more timing. It takes a lot more preparation. It takes a lot more being perfect because, in defense, a guy can miss an assignment and it's not run to that hole. But on offense, everybody has to get their job done for that ball to break where it's supposed to break. And you can get a perfect block, but if the tailback's eyes aren't where they're supposed to be, then it stops. So, offense just takes a lot more timing, and I think that we're starting to play together now, and hopefully we just keep it up. Like I told our kids all week, we can either be human beings and just rest after a big win, or don't be human beings and be champions and practice like a champion all week. Don't have a letdown. And hopefully, we've had 2 great practices this week, and hopefully we have a good hour tomorrow, and hopefully it transfers over to Friday.
Well, see, I'm saying on your 2 good hours, your 2 good practices in a row, I think that many kids getting to play on Friday night motivates them to continue to practice hard, because my point on folks was the fact that he has shown signs of that breakaway
Right.
all year. I mean, he plays early in the game, he plays late, and Friday night, I thought that he was at his best that I've seen him.
I told him at halftime, I said, be ready for the third quarter, man. We're going to need fresh legs, because you can't ask Bozika to carry the ball 30 times. That's the thing that we got into last year with Spencer. Spencer was our only healthy back last year, and he's carrying the ball 32 times and playing 50 snaps on defense, and we just don't want that to happen anymore. So we're just trying to prevent it right now. But I just feel that the way we're running our three tailbacks, and our fourth tailback is probably Minifield, and then we have Mullins and Sims who can go fullback or tailback, but our one back is Bozika and Sims. So everybody has a position that they're playing, and that's where they're practicing, and we're trying to be too deep at each formation. At each formation, not at each position, but each formation, we're trying to have too deep. And when you have 3 wideouts in a formation, then you got to have 6 wideouts to be too deep.
Yeah.
And that's what we're focused on right now.
What was the key to getting out to such a fast start the other night? I mean, it seemed
We got out to a slow start. They scored first.
Well, you know what I mean, but to end up with that many points, I mean, that's a
the key to the game was the second time we had them punt, and we went up 20-7, and I thought that was the key because we needed 1 or 2 stops, and we were moving the ball at that time, and I told JoJo prior to the game, get outside the 30, and we're going for it on 4th down, because I didn't want to punt. I wanted to give them any breathing room at all, and so our game plan was get 1 first down and 1 4-down territory. I don't care where it is. And we stuck to that, and we've stuck to that pretty much all year. I think we've only punted with our punter 5 times this year, and I think the Fate might have punted twice. So we're staying with that philosophy and staying with it as long as we can.
Were the players tired? I mean, that was a long game, a lot of points.
31 flags. Well, I don't know. I don't think that. I think when you're in a game like that. It's more fun than anything else, and especially towards the end of the game. But the thing that I like best about the entire game, and I know it's something stupid, but I really appreciate it, is when our guys are out of the game and the younger guys are in. They're not clowning around on the sideline.
Right.
They're behind them trying to like when Minifield ran that long run down the other sideline. I mean, our sideline was happy. I mean, really happy. Yeah. I mean, they showed it too, and I just feel that if we can improve, we got to improve a couple areas that I don't want to mention, but we have to improve in a couple areas, both defensively and offensively, and I think that we can. We are continuing to get better, but we just have to emphasize things. The more emphasis you put on something, the more the kids will stay focused on it.
I know, Coach, you're not going to be critical of them. You're not going to say, but 31 penalties. I mean, I got a chance to watch the game, and some of those, I mean, I thought it was about the referees, trying to be the show.
How does that happen, 31 penalties?
I mean, come on, 31 penalties.
Well, I'm not saying that because
being nice.
No, I'm not even. I don't feel like that. But I think that there were a couple calls that like Talik Sims on that first down when he caught the ball out of the backfield on their sideline. His extra effort got the first down, and they marked us a yard short. But referees, I mean, especially on TV, they don't want to make bad calls.
No.
And it just maybe there were 31 penalties. I don't know. But when the clock was running, when it was a running clock, I think that they could have put their flags in their pocket. But
sure.
But I'll never criticize them, honestly, because I mean they're out there trying to do a good job, and the guy on our sideline is probably one of the better officials in the Valley.
Thing with referees, I mean, you always see when a wide receiver comes out, say, am I okay? I mean, really, it's not the referee's job to tell you you're behind the line of scrimmage. It's up to you to do that. But you will get a lot of guys out there that will look to help the players out.
Oh, yeah.
You always got some good guys there and saying, listen, you need to do this. Don't do this. You can do this. If you do this again, then I'm going to call it a penalty. At least there's teaching moments there. But sometimes it just seems like
Well,
that's like we had the game, the Catholic Central game, and the team they were playing kept lining up and illegal formation for Madonna. And it happens 8 times, 11 times. And I'm like, you know how after like the first one, you should know,
well, I don't know. I just
That's weird. Yeah.
I don't think any referee out and out cheats. I don't think any referee out and out does things that are detrimental to the game of football. Like I tell them every game, I'm probably a jerk for 48 minutes, but when the game's over, it's over as far as I'm concerned.
Tell me about what happens, before a game you meet the officials. What's that conversation like? Do they tell you, hey, I like to call this, make sure your kids don't do that?
No, what goes on there, they ask if you're legally, hi, how are you? I'm good, how are you? They ask if you're legally equipped. We're trying to behave. They ask if you're legally equipped, and they who your captains are, and do you do any, is your punter right or left leg? Is your quarterback right or left? Do you do anything that we should watch out for?
Any surprises?
Do they do anything that we should look for that you don't think they should be doing? You talk like that before the game. But back to officiating, I think that game was a little bit chippy, and sometimes you're throwing flags just to keep it from getting out of hand. And I think that's the reason why some of that stuff goes on. But as far as officials go, I think the Ohio Valley officials try like hell to give you a square game. So, and that's all we can ask for is a square shot.
It's hard to get them too. I mean, they're always looking for officials to try to join their ranks. But let's talk a minute about defensively. You said they jumped out to a 7-0 lead. You're pretty much able to calm that down through the rest of the game.
Well, in that first drive, we had a couple checkoffs to a couple formations they had, and so we called a couple blitzes, but they came out in a formation that we were checking off, and we weren't able to blitz, so we had to go to a second plan 2, the second time they had the ball, and that really helped us a lot after that. But the first drive was on just they've gotten certain formations and did certain things, and we wanted to check off to them and get to a base defense, and base defense doesn't allow you to blitz or anything like that. So we felt more comfortable in a base against those formations. But after we changed we changed the second and third. After that, we felt more comfortable with what we were doing.
Week to week, you have, your base defense, what you run, what you like to do. How much do you change your defense in that coming week for the upcoming opponent? Like
we never change our defense. There's 2 things we might do. We never change, but you can add a wrinkle, where you can eliminate. So sometimes less is more, and sometimes you need to maybe add something like a double team or something like that when they do this. But we never change our defense. We don't change our fronts. You coach. The better the team you're playing, the more the tendencies are playing, the harder you got to coach. And it doesn't matter what you know. It's what your kids know on Friday night. And if we don't know something on Wednesday after practice, if we've screwed it up on Wednesday after practice, we're not doing it on Thursday or Friday. So that's just a thing that I go by, and I think it's helped us. If we can't teach it on Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday, we're certainly not going to run it right in the game on Friday. So we just don't do it.
Well, the Reno Succotash Coaches Show is being brought to you by Fort Steuben Maintenance. Let's take a time out from Bennigan's Restaurant. We'll talk to Coach Sack about the Lindsley Cadets when we come back after these words.
Got a sidewalk that needs replaced, or maybe your roof is leaking? How about some new windows? Who do you call? Fort Steuben Maintenance, that's who. Commercial or residential, they can handle most any project, big or small. They also do new construction and renovations. So get a free estimate by calling Fort Steuben Maintenance today and get them started on your next project. 740-283-4890 for Fort Steuben Maintenance.
It may not require a textbook, but it's filled with valuable lessons. It may not take place in a classroom, but it's an ideal environment for learning. It may not involve a diploma, but it can help prepare Ohio's young people for life. It's high school sports. High school sports can play a critical role in a student's overall education. In fact, studies show that students that participate in high school sports are more likely to enjoy greater levels of achievement in their academic lives. If you think high school sports are only about competition, think again. Better yet, think about attending a high school sporting event in your community. You'll be amazed by what you see. High school sports, a winning part of a complete education. This message presented by the Ohio High School Athletic Association and the Ohio Interscholastic Athletic Administrators Association.
Thanks, Everhard Bow Funeral Home, for sponsoring Indian Creek head coach. Thanks, Fort Steuben Maintenance, for sponsoring Big Red head football coach Reno Suckoch on the Ohio Valley Sports Online Coaches Show. You know, Fort Steuben Maintenance should be your first choice when it comes to any and all construction projects, whether it's commercial or residential. Make Fort Steuben Maintenance your first call. You can rely on them to be the experts when it comes to roofing, concrete, plumbing, carpentry, just about any job that needs done. Fort Steuben Maintenance, they're fully licensed and bonded and will even give you a free estimate. Fort Steuben Maintenance. You want the number? 740-283-4890.
Welcome back, everyone, to Bennigan's Restaurant. Jim Huggins along with Dan Vogel and Ray Suckoch, joined by Big Red head coach Reno Suckoch. Coach, we talked about Winning Park. Let's turn our focus to this week's ball game against the Lindsley Cadets, a team that you've grown accustomed to playing over the past several years or so. And they've always had LePew as a coach down there and always got a pretty solid program. What do they like this year?
I mean, the thing I respect most about them is the schedule they play. They play Fairmont Senior, they play Dover, they play Mooney, they play Louisville, they play us, and you know, they get after it. They play a really, really competitive schedule, and I respect the hell out of them for that.
I kind of like that could be do you think that could be to a disadvantage because not in part of being in part of a conference where you know you're playing same teams year after year. Now you have to go out and find teams to play, like the Moonies you mentioned, and some of these teams that are pretty good football teams. Isn't that kind of a hindrance, or do you think that helps them out?
Well, you know, they're not allowed to make the playoffs in West Virginia, so they just want to play a competitive schedule. And I think their opener was St. Clairsville, if I can remember correctly. I know they played St. Clairsville. I can't remember if it was the opener or not, but sometimes you just do what you got to do. I mean, we've been in that situation where, you know, we played a couple of teams we didn't want to play, but we had to. I mean, we never want to play a team from Canada. We don't really want to play teams from D.C. and Baltimore and things like that. But I've grown to be friends with a couple of those guys in D.C. and they change schools and they like coming here. Their kids like playing in Harding Stadium, and so I've kept a good relationship with them. But sometimes you just got to play. You got to play like Rock Creek Christian. I never heard of them. But the coach from National Christian that we played 3 years ago is there now, and he called, and they needed a game, and we needed a 10th game back. We didn't have a 10th game. It was in the end of April. So, we had to schedule it. But I think that sometimes first of all, you never want to make a schedule to win a barroom argument. You want to make a schedule what's best for your players and your team, and that's why I never criticize anybody that doesn't feel like they want to play us, because you got to do what's best for your team and your situation. And like if Mueller called us this year, I wouldn't want to play them.
No.
Well, why not? What are you scared of them for? Well, it isn't best for our team. So I mean, there's a lot of teams that feel like that, and so scheduling, you got to do what you got to do. And Dover used to be in a great situation with their league. Well, they're not in that league anymore. So us and Dover's become so close just because we're trying to get each other games. Yeah. And so scheduling's a lot harder than people think. And we can't make a schedule for Division IV. We got to make a schedule for Division III, because sometimes we are Division III.
We don't know, yeah.
So we have to prepare for that, like we did this year. We prepared this schedule to be in Division III, and then, we ended up in Division 4. But
Don't you, when you're designated as Division 3 or Division 4, didn't they have the rule where you had to spend at least 2 years in that division? Is that still there? Or?
if that rule is good for them, benefits the state, then they'll stick with it. If it doesn't, they don't. It's their show. They're the dealer. They do it. They do what they need to do to make it go. So,
How far out do you make them schedules up, Coach? Do you get
right now we need 2 games for 23. We need the opener, and I think it's game 8. I'm not sure, or game 9, something like that, because Mooney moved to 3. So I know we need 2 games next year.
Are you playing Louisville?
Yeah, we'll play them game 10.
What can you tell us about Lindsley this year?
They're a solid team. They're 4-1.
Yeah.
I mean, they moved their quarterback to receiver. He's a lot like number 4 for Wheeling Park. I put them in the same category. I think Wheeling Park's might be more open field ready, but their quarterback gets them the ball. Their line isn't as big as it's been lately. They had all those 300-pounders last year, but their line's quicker down, and they do a better job with the scheme. They have the same back from last year. So offensively, they're pretty solid. Defensively, they have a lot of new guys in, and they have 4 guys go both ways. They have their safety goes both ways. He's their running back, and the 2 wideouts go both ways. So, and they have 1 linebacker that goes both ways. So they have 4 kids that play both sides of the ball.
I'm sure they got to love coming up here and playing because where their school is and their football field located back there, you're not going to get anywhere near the kind of crowd that they're going to get this coming week. And for kids, I'd say I do that every time because I want to play in front of as many people as possible, regardless of the home field advantage. But a chance to play in a stadium like Harding and
I think we're going to go there. I'm not sure. I think it's either in what year is this? 22, maybe 24 or 25.
Really?
I'm not sure. But not in their field. We'll probably play at Wheeling or West Liberty.
Yeah, I was going to say there wouldn't be enough room for everybody at the other stadium.
Well, their stadium isn't like it is because they want it to be like that. I mean, they want turf, but they have so many floods with that little creek there, and then just where they're located, it just wouldn't be feasible for them to have turf. But I don't think money's a problem down there. I don't think so. So it's probably because of the situation that they're in, because they're filled like that. But usually, 9 out of 10 times when you do something with Lindsley, it's first class.
It's never good when your field is located in alley number 6, like they have down in there.
I've only been there. I've only been there one time, so I really can't make a comment on it. But I know that Coach told me that the reason why they don't have turf is just because of the situation and where the field lies.
Yeah. What do they like to throw the ball? They like to run the ball. What's their
They do both. I mean, they mix it up good. They have a really, really good quarterback. They play solid defense. Offensively, they're a no tight end team, so we'll be spread out, and we'll probably have to change a couple of our coverages up from last week, and just got to play sound football. We can't give them the ball on turnovers, and we got to take advantage of any opportunities that we get. And as long as we're taking advantage of opportunities and not turning the ball over, then we're putting ourselves at least in a good situation. Doesn't mean you're going to win, but at least we're in a good situation.
Looking into for you guys against them, take us through what you think you want to do offensively and what you want to do defensively when they have the ball.
Offensively, we do what we do. I mean, our offense is built where everything comes off the inside run, and the pass comes off of it. The outside stuff comes off of it. Everything we do comes off the inside run. So that's one thing. Second thing, defensively, we're in a new defense for us. We don't have all the answers, and that's why we're taking baby steps. We want to do what we do well, and that's more important than doing a lot of things right now. So right now we want to do what we do and do it well, and then add here and there and make a wrinkle here and there, but we just want to be solid. We want to be solid, gap sound defensively, and offensively we want to go into the game with the notion in mind that my man's not going to make the play.
Yeah.
And that's just the mentality we want to have going into the game. You're not getting through my gap, and you're not making the
Right,
play, so.
right. Well, Coach, we appreciate the time as always, stopping by and spending some time with us about the games, and we look forward to talking to you on Friday night at home. Anything going on with the game? Is there any kind of
We're having little kids, little peewee football night and cheerleader night from the city schools.
Cool.
And then I think next week is homecoming, and then the last game will be senior night. But that's what's going on. I'm almost positive Alderdice is homecoming.
Hard to believe we're in week 7 already, huh?
Going fast.
Fastest 10 weeks ever.
Jesus. I mean, we were just talking about the preseason, scrimmages and stuff, and there we are already.
Yeah.
Well, thanks a lot, Coach. Appreciate
Thank
it.
you.
We'll talk to you next week.
Okay. Hope we're here for a lot of weeks.
Yeah.
Good luck, Coach.
Head Coach Reno Suckots will take a timeout. Be back with Indian Creek Head Coach Andrew Connor in just a moment.
Got a sidewalk that needs replaced, or maybe your roof is leaking? How about some new windows? Who do you call? Fort Steuben Maintenance, that's who. Commercial or residential, they can handle most any project, big or small. They also do new construction and renovations. So get a free estimate by calling Fort Steuben Maintenance today and get them started on your next project. 740-283-4890 for Fort Steuben Maintenance.
Question. When you walk into the boardrooms of the most successful companies here in Ohio, who do you meet? Answer. Men and women who played high school sports. Education-based high school sports give us more than athletes we can root for. They give us leaders we can depend on. Question. So where will we find tomorrow's leaders? Answer. High school sports.
This message presented by the Ohio High School Athletic Association and the Ohio Interscholastic Athletic Administrators Association.
Everhart Bove Funeral Home, they believe you should take care of your loved ones while you still can. Pre-planning at Everhart Bove ensures that your family won't have to worry about the stress of final arrangements during this most difficult time. More importantly, they won't have to worry about how they'll pay for it. Visit Everhart Bove Funeral Home today and discover all the affordable options available. Everhart Bove Funeral Home, Wintersville, Richmond, and Burgolds.
Thanks, Everhart Bow Funeral Home, for sponsoring Indian Creek head coach Andrew Connor on the Ohio Valley Sports Online Coaches Show.
How do you define strength? Is it physical? Or is it mental? Maybe it's both. Maybe it's whatever empowers a person to dig deeper, fight harder, and overcome obstacles that once seemed insurmountable. Discover how much stronger and more confident your children can be. Encourage them to participate in a sport when they go to high school.
This message presented by the Ohio High School Athletic Association and the Ohio Interscholastic Athletic Administrators Association.
This high school event is brought to you by AT&T on Sunset via the AT&T Wireless Network. Remember, don't text and drive, it can wait. AT&T on Sunset is a proud sponsor of this high school event. Everhart Bove Funeral Home, they believe you should take care of your loved ones while you still can. Pre-planning at Everhart Bove ensures that your family won't have to worry about the stress of final arrangements during this most difficult time. More importantly, they won't have to worry about how they'll pay for it. Visit Everhart Bove Funeral Home today and discover all the affordable options available. Everhart Bove Funeral Home, Wintersville, Richmond, and Burgolds.
Thanks a lot for following us at Ohio Valley Sports Online. Why not visit our webpage at OhioValleySportsOnline.com? It's the way to go for sports fans around the globe to follow your favorite local sports teams.
Game.
Welcome back, everyone, to Bennigan's Restaurant. We're joined now on Ohio Valley Sports Online by Indian Creek head coach Andrew Connor, whose team went on the road and down at Nelson Field. Always a nice place to play on a Saturday afternoon game, but didn't really work out. Tough game all around, but you were in the game for a good part of it, and then a fourth down, got stopped, and things just seemed like it kind of unraveled after that. What was their perspective of the game?
Well, again, I think you hit it on the head. I think we're playing in bunches and in spurts very well. I know when reflected, and I know, if you dissect it by score or whatever, you're never going to really know what we see. But, for example, I thought we moved the ball well offensively.
Yeah.
And defensively, we 3-and-out them on the first series. In the second series, they have 2 plays where they gain no yards. Then on the third play, they break a 27-yard touchdown. So, I think our kids are fighting. But again, and I'm not making excuses, and I hate when people use this as an excuse. I'm not, but sometimes it's just lack of experience on our part.
Yeah.
That we just, we misaligned somewhere where if we played more, or there was somebody that had more down, maybe they would get us in the right alignment. They're trying, they're playing hard, but we kind of hurt ourselves with stepping like on that fourth down. Everybody blocks the right way, one kid blocks the wrong way, but that's the gap the kid shoots. And instead of getting a first down, which was we blocked it perfectly on the play side, the guy comes through backside A gap, makes the play, and we don't get a first down. So, we're close, and I think our kids are still playing really hard. And, the one thing I could see after a game is it still means something to them. They're still thoroughly upset. They still, come up to me afterwards and they apologize for the way they play or for a mistake they made. So I know we're in it. It's just one of those things where we just kind of got to just keep pushing forward and hopefully we can cut down on some of those mistakes that we're making that are that are hurting us.
You got a young team. You got like about 45 kids, I think, that are sophomores and freshmen. That's a lot of teaching, a lot of remembering. Hopefully, they retain that information as we go along through this season and the next couple of seasons to come, to where they're going to be in a position to inflict the damage instead of having the damage inflicted to them. But I know that's coming down the road, and I know you got to wait for that. But and I know it's got to be frustrating. But the fact is that you've got that many kids out there for a reason. They want to play football, and they're glad to be out there to play for you and play for the school. So I think that bodes well for the future coming up in the next couple of years.
Well, I think you both, Andrew, I think you both made a good point in what you're talking about. And Andrew started out, saying it's not excuses. And I know Andrew's since Uncle Rich, so I know you're not going to make excuses. And Jags, you make a good point on the fact of all the freshmen and sophomores, but what me and Andrew were talking about, that's a reason. That's not an excuse. That's a reason, that things are not getting done because they're so young, and it's hard for freshmen and sophomores, in everybody's opinion, to compete at a varsity level. So I'm excited, Andrew. I really am. Whenever I hear you say that they're keeping their enthusiasm and they're getting after it, I think that's a credit to you. I think that's a credit to your coaching staff, and I think that's a credit to the families of these kids, because these kids are getting beat up and they're playing hard.
They
are.
They're
not looking for excuses. It's just that my point is, it's not an excuse. It's a reason. It's coming, I think.
Well, and that's what we tell our kids all the time. Like, sometimes you forget, you have a freshman linebacker meets a senior running back in the hole, and it doesn't turn out your way.
Yeah.
But you forget. You got to do it in a way where you don't want to make it worse for that kid. I know he's competing. You want to teach him the right thing, but again, there's a very fine line on how far does this go in coaching before you make those kids maybe not like football when they were trying to grow up into football. You want to get your point across, but it's not the same as when you're telling a senior. A senior's played 3 years. You tell them to do something,
Right.
They haven't done it. That's a difference there. That's 3 years of, come on, man.
Absolutely.
We've told you how to do this. But, you look at a freshman, in the old days, they'd be playing freshman football.
Mm-hmm.
Or you look at a sophomore, they'd be playing JV football. We've bypassed that. Our JV team's playing, but they're playing minus, 7, 8, 9 starters on our JV level, because those kids are playing on, Friday night, or this case, Saturday afternoon. So, like I said, I think the practice has been great. If you see them in the locker room, you see them on the field, you would never know that we've taken some lumps this year. And again, our lumps have come in a very quick way. Like, most of the time we're in the game,
Yeah.
we're competing, we're right there, and then all of a sudden, you get that snowball effect. And I think sometimes that comes because, you kind of blindside a younger kid, and by the time he figures out what everything's going on, they've hit us with 1, 2, or 3, and, and then we fell behind, and things don't go our way at that point.
I think the hardest part now of a season is that, since the season's not going the way you'd hoped or planned, it is keeping kids invested. They can bust their tails out there and they can, fight to the end and stuff. When you look at it compared to what your record is, that's kind of a downer. And it's up, with you guys, your coaching staff, and everything, to keep the kids invested and knowing the fact that better things are coming, because you certainly hope they are. With that many kids, that you're going to be able to get some of that. Are the kids responding to this? I mean, are you having a hard time, or not having a hard time, keeping them fired up week to week?
Well, I mean, like last week, we went live on Tuesday, and on Wednesday, not a single kid missed practice or said they were injured, and we were live. We get beat. We go out to Utica, we lose, we come back at 2 o'clock in the morning, we go in the locker room. No kid misses practice. This week we get beat by Blair on Saturday. Monday, all the kids are there. The younger kids are playing the JV game. Our older kids go in and they watch film. Yesterday we had a great practice, I thought. We're in full gear. Kids are going around. They're trying to learn. Today, we talked about, making some mental mistakes. So tomorrow is usually our walkthrough day. So I tell the kids, hey guys, instead of us doing no shells tomorrow, we're going to go shells. It's not a punishment, but we need another day. I mean, we want to win on Friday, right? And to a man, when they're in front of me, they didn't do the or then put their heads down. They were like, yes, coach, we understand we need the extra day. So,
sure.
I think they know how close we are. I think they know that there is something there. And I think they want to win just as bad as the coaching staff does, or our school district does, or who's ever at the game, wearing red and gold wants us to win. So I think we're going the right direction. It just sometimes, I know the result of everybody judging that direction is with a W or an L, but I think from my standpoint, the coaching staff standpoint, we're looking at it more in, a moment here, a moment there, and trying to get that collection of things to work in our favor. And I feel like, we are. I feel like we are taking strides.
Get those little
It just
wins.
may never, sometimes it may not show up the way you want it to show up, but I really believe that these kids have a goal, and they understand that, we're in it for the short term. We want to win, but I think we're in for the long term, too, to make sure that we're heading in the right direction as a program.
How difficult is it when you have, like you mentioned, plays like you can stop a team on first down, on second down, feeling pretty good, and all of a sudden they bust one off? And, that's got to be frustrating, not only for you guys as a staff, but as the players. How do you adhere to them, to tell them to say, this is what happened, we can't let this happen again, and how are they able to retain that in case that situation comes up again?
Well, I think a lot of it is just by the way you kind of teach. I mean, like, on Monday we go into films and we try to stress, the positives. It can't just be a negative onslaught. I mean, it's not going to make anybody feel better. It's not going to make me feel better doing it, and it's surely not going to make them learn. So just like in teaching, you have to show them the good moments and show them, hey, here's all the good things. I think everybody always points out the negative. I'm sure fans are pointing out. I'm sure parents are pointing out. Our job as coaches is to point out there are a lot more positives, and we need to take those positives and build off those positives. I think that's the important thing. I think when you have film doesn't lie. Mm-hmm. Film tells you the truth, whether it's good, bad, or whatever. And I think you need to stress on why there's the bad. Just telling somebody you're wrong doesn't make us better as a program. I think when they're wrong, you got to show them why it's wrong. You got to teach them why it's wrong now, so they don't just keep compounding the problem. And beating them down is not going to do us any good, because all it does there is what you're talking about. We don't want them to start thinking, hey,
right,
basketball's around the corner, wrestling's around the corner. I want them to be fully invested in whatever takes place for us as we play out our last 4 football games. And I think that's the important thing. And learning to finish. Everybody is, I say today, everybody's a front runner. Everybody likes when you're winning. Everybody's all in, all excited.
Yeah.
But, when you go through these times, this is what's going to shape us for, somewhere down the road. We're going to remember this is, we went through some tough times, and we made it through those tough times. And, hopefully we're going to be enjoying some really good times as we go down in the future here.
You can tell you have some building blocks to work with over the next. I mean, the McGee kid ran crazy the other night, had 140-something yards, I think, on 20 carries or so. And talk about his maturation, and also your line's ability to open up holes for him as the season keeps going.
Well, I think the great thing about, Zion is that he is, one of those kids where, nothing seems to faze him. He's always in a good mood, and he understands, too. I mean, he's got right now, we have two sophomores, a sophomore playing center and a sophomore playing guard, and we have 3 freshmen. So basically, he's running behind an offensive line that had 0 starts at the beginning of the year. And, and so they're going out there and they're kind of growing together. I mean, this is a maturation process. He may go to the wrong hole. They may block the wrong play, but they're growing up together. I mean, that's the good thing about this is, he's a sophomore and the offensive line's going to be with him for the next 2 years intact the way it is because that's where they're at right now. So, I think he's been really good and he's very, he runs hard and I think he understands that, he's only going to be as good down the road as that offensive line is. So, I know there's times when, we get stuffed, by a good front, a good defensive front, but he doesn't go back to the huddle crying and moaning. He understands it's all part of, this whole maturation process of us, as we get older together, good things will come. And there's no sense of complaining now about, maybe there isn't a hole there. We taught him there may not be times when there is a hole. You got to make a hole. Put your head down, let's go.
Well, that's what I was thinking about this the other day when I was looking through the box scores, is the fact that, he ran well, you ran well as a team. Now, throwing the ball was a different story. You only threw the ball about 5 times, and that puts extra pressure on him and your run game to do well. Is the passing game not caught up yet, or that's just a game where you didn't need to throw the ball or didn't see reason to throw the ball more? Do you anticipate throwing the ball more to maybe even open up that offense for your running game going forward?
It's been one of those things where I think you hit it, it's easier just to give somebody the ball and tell them to run than it is to work the pass plays in because, again, we have 2 young quarterbacks that we've been going back and forth with.
Mm-hmm.
Our receiving core is very young. The offensive line is so it's kind of been a little bit easier just to give it to Zion and let him run the football. But, obviously we do want to get to a point where, we decide to throw the ball when we want to and not because of the situation or the down we're in. And, Coach Hammock's doing the best he can of trying to make sure that, when we call these plays, we're putting our kids in the best possible situation and not, making somebody do something they're not ready to do yet. So I think as time goes on, that is something. We work on it in practice all the time. We try to do different things with our passing game, try to build off of our running game, which is now becoming, pretty good with Zion and trying to include some stuff off of giving Zion the ball and try to do some misdirection with it. So we are trying to use, what we have in Zion to kind of move our offense and broaden our offense so that you can't just key on him.
What I'm curious about with your passing game is that you mentioned 2 quarterbacks. You've played 6 weeks now. We're going into week 7. Is there nobody that has stood out among the 2, or do they bring different things to the table? One runs better, one's passed better. And is there any way you are able to sort that out for them? Or is it just by feel per series? Or
It's kind of worked that way. Each have done good things, and each have done things where, they need more time to grow up in that situation.
Yeah.
And I don't ever want to get to, I guess, the point right now where, we're putting that kind of pressure. It's not like, sometimes you put a young quarterback in, but you have an older tailback or you have an older receiver, so they kind of cover for him. Everything we have is basically young, so I don't want to get to a point where, I'm making one guy, have to do everything on his own because, it's not like, we've been in situations before we played young quarterbacks, but we've had, a senior fullback and he's helped them get lined up, or we've had senior. We're basically at a point where sometimes, we may not have a senior on the field, and I just don't want to get to a point where I do anything to make either one of those guys go backwards instead of going forward.
Yeah, I can see that. The Indian Creek Coaches Show is being brought to you by, who is our sponsor? Oh, that's right,
Everhart
Bove Funeral Home. Forgot, I haven't seen Danny in a long time. We're going to take a time out. We'll be back with Coach Connor talking about this week's game after these words.
Everhart Bove Funeral Home, they believe you should take care of your loved ones while you still can. Pre-planning at Everhart Bove ensures that your family won't have to worry about the stress of final arrangements during this most difficult time. More importantly, they won't have to worry about how they'll pay for it. Visit Everhart Bove Funeral Home today and discover all the affordable options available. Everhart Bove Funeral Home, Wintersville, Richmond, and Berger.
It may not require a textbook, but it's filled with valuable lessons. It may not take place in a classroom, but it's an ideal environment for learning. It may not involve a diploma, but it can help prepare Ohio's young people for life. It's high school sports. High school sports can play a critical role in a student's overall education. In fact, studies show that students that participate in high school sports are more likely to enjoy greater levels of achievement in their academic lives. If you think high school sports are only about competition, think again. Better yet, think about attending a high school sporting event in your community. You'll be amazed by what you see. High school sports, a winning part of a complete education. This message presented by the Ohio High School Athletic Association and the Ohio Interscholastic Athletic Administrators Association.
Question. When you walk into the boardrooms of the most successful companies here in Ohio, who do you meet? Answer. Men and women who played high school sports. Education-based high school sports give us more than athletes we can root for. They give us leaders we can depend on. Question. So where will we find tomorrow's leaders? Answer. High school sports.
This message presented by the Ohio High School Athletic Association and the Ohio Interscholastic Athletic Administrators Association.
How do you define strength? Is it physical? Or is it mental? Maybe it's both. Maybe it's whatever empowers a person to dig deeper, fight harder, and overcome obstacles that once seemed insurmountable. Discover how much stronger and more confident your children can be. Encourage them to participate in a sport when they go to high school.
This message presented by the Ohio High School Athletic Association and the Ohio Interscholastic Athletic Administrators Association.
Everhart Bove Funeral Home, they believe you should take care of your loved ones while you still can. Pre-planning at Everhart Bove ensures that your family won't have to worry about the stress of final arrangements during this most difficult time. More importantly, they won't have to worry about how they'll pay for it. Visit Everhart Bove Funeral Home today and discover all the affordable options available. Everhart Bove Funeral Home, Wintersville, Richmond, and Burgolds.
Welcome back, everyone, to Bennigan's Restaurant. We're talking to Andrew Connor, the head coach of Indian Creek High School, who team goes on the road Friday night, take on Martins Ferry in a rivalry game, and it's always a good time playing them. You're playing them down there on the purple field, But as you look forward to that game, they're kind of like you guys. They're kind of, they're playing. They're not running away from the pack. They're not falling behind the pack. They're just right around in there. So it seems like it's a pretty good matchup for your squad on Friday.
It is. It's Coach Kropka's. We've been coaching against each other for a long time when he was at Harrison, and then he went to John Marshall, and now he's back at his alma mater. And I think he's got him playing hard, and he's a good coach. He put a good staff together, and when you watch Ferry play, and we were able to go out last Friday because we played on Saturday, and they played Cambridge, man, and they gave Cambridge everything they had. I mean, they run the ball well. They play good defense, and it's always been good games throughout the time I've been in Indian Creek playing Martins Ferry. It's kind of what we would call a phone booth type of game where everybody kind of is in real tight, and the better team who could stop the running play is the team that wins. So it'll be a battle of both teams running games, and whatever team get a little bit of passing game kind of set there. Probably have the better chances.
They got Greg down there doing still some toughness in them too.
Coach Payne's still down there. Like I said, their coaching staff's a lot of guys that I've either played for, grown up with. So it's a good matchup of two schools that are pretty similar. And our big thing is, whatever team makes the least amount of mistakes is going to be, that team that comes out on top. And that's what we've been working on this week at practice.
What do you feel offensively is going to be the key to your squad to get, first of all, not only to get off to a good start, but to keep that run going and play ahead of the game instead of falling behind in the game?
Well, I think the biggest thing for us is our ability to be able to stay. And I know it's cliche, but those chains are important to us. We need, as a young football program, young football team, we need 2nd and 5
drives.
We need 3rd and 2. I mean, that's when we're at our best. I mean, so for us, we need to be able to do that. And I think, having a couple other guys step up offensively to kind of go along with, what we assume we're going to get out of Zion every night, that would help us too. I mean, I think take a little pressure off of him. And, for some of our kids now, they've got some experience under their belt. We need somebody else to make a play here. Maybe it's a catch, maybe it's a throw, but something else to kind of take that pressure off of us just kind of running Zion all the time. So, for us, that's going to be a big part of it. And they like to stunt and blitz, and, we got to do a good job of recognizing it and picking it up. And maybe, when teams blitz a lot, you get lucky too sometimes. If you
Yeah,
can
break
stop
one.
it, you can break one, and that would help us a lot. Is
Yeah.
being able to see it, being able to pick it up, and then being able to use it against them. Help our offense.
What
Coach,
about?
I'm sorry.
Go ahead, Ray.
You talk about. We talked about last week about these kids. Can't play like freshman and sophomore anymore. Have you seen, even though you're not winning, have you seen that improvement from these kids individually getting better every week?
I have. I think a lot of our freshmen that are playing right now seem like they understand football, and I don't mean they didn't beforehand, but you know how that is. I mean,
It's a different game.
Playing and the speed of the game, and knowing something to practice when there's nobody bearing down on you is totally different than a 3rd and 3, and you gotta know a call, you gotta know where you're going. I mean, that puts a lot of pressure on a young kid, and it puts pressure on any kid, but especially a young kid. But I thought we've done better. I think our younger kids are playing better when it comes offensively, getting off the ball, knowing their assignments, and I think defensively, I think our tackling's gotten better from some of our younger guys. I think just knowing where they're supposed to be. We don't make as many of those mistakes that we did earlier in the year. We still make some, but I don't think it's as many as we first did. And I think, one of these days we're going to look back. I think football experience is football experience.
Right.
And I think, when you start to log those hours and start to log those games, it does make you better because you think like a football player. And again, you can simulate all you want at practice. There's nothing like simulation of what you play on a Friday night. And I think that is going to be,
Exactly.
hopefully what aids us and makes us better going down the road.
I agree with that totally. There's no experience like game experience. So, you're eliminating some of the mistakes, and you're getting closer, as we talk about, trying to get over the hump and finish a game.
And that's one thing. Like for us, Coach Kropka does a really good job of mixing up a ton of formations. So for us, a big win for us on Friday is going to be for our knowledge to get lined up. I mean, I know it sounds simple. You tell guys, you're here against this. But again, they're coming out of the huddle. You got to recognize where everybody is. And they do a good job. They could be in power I one play. They could be emptying another. And it's going to put pressure on our defense to line up correctly. I mean, that's the number one thing that people always forget about. They always talk about, you should do this, or you can do anything you want. Everybody can say they're going to do whatever they want in a game. It's, can you do it, though? I mean, everyone in the stand says, well, you ought to do this. Well, yeah, I mean, granted, you saw that. That's great. You saw High State do it. Okay, great. You saw the Steelers do it. That's great. Or you saw it on, your Xbox Live game you did. But to get the kids to do it, it takes a lot. And you don't want to put undue pressure on kids to say, we're going to do 1,000 things. So sometimes it does look like you're doing the same things over and over, but you want to get good at something. I think sometimes people forget. You want to be able to hang your hat on something. For us, maybe it's 1 or 2 defensive fronts. We want to hang our hat on that so we can say we can see progress. It's the same on offense. Mm-hmm. You can draw up a million plays and say you ought to do this, that. That's great. But sometimes you got to remember, you got to get somebody to do those things.
Right.
And it's hard right now to do some of the basic, simple things that people take for granted. And again, you can do it at practice. We do it 100 times at practice. But then you got to be able to take it to that next level when you do it a game. And I know people say, well, you don't do it enough, or they don't want to do it. Everybody wants to do it. The kids want to do it. Okay, it's just one of those things of that mental pressure of that moment you have. I mean, you've got to make a lot of decisions in a very short time, and everybody has to make the right decision because, we always joke, the football gods know if the defensive tackle's in the wrong alignment, somehow they run there. I mean, so, we're trying to just get our kids to feel good about some of the stuff we do, and we have cut back on our playbook on both sides of the ball just so the kids can feel good about alignment, just so they can feel good about their assignment. And if they can get those 2 down, I think, we play hard. It's just that sometimes we're just not in the right place, and that's been our biggest issue, and that's what we're trying to correct.
You ever take any plays off Xbox Live?
No, I don't, but I think some of the people hollering at me do. So, I mean, I just wanted to make sure if you're one of those people and you're listening tonight, I do take it with a grain of salt that you're throwing it out there for me.
What's
I like that.
What's going to happen Friday night for you guys to have the kind of game you want to see from your team and then also come out with a win?
I told our kid, I just want to see him have fun. I think at this stage, I just want to see him play with energy, have fun, go out there and play hard, and I think good things will happen. I do. I think we're getting better with our assignments and our alignment. I just think right now, our kids feel like there's all this pressure to do well. And I told him, when you're doing that, you're not going to do well. When you're thinking about it, you're trying to make perfect plays, you don't. I just told him, go out, play hard, have fun, play together, and play for each other. I think if we do that, we can make this something where we have a chance in the fourth quarter to get ourselves a win.
The only thing, with me, I want to play close games, win or lose, because I'm invested, and I want to go home thinking, man, that was fun. Either way, we won. I don't want to lose huge games. I don't want to win huge games, because then
I'll take a huge win.
Well, yeah, you'll take that, of course,
I'll take one.
But like a huge loss, I mean, it's knocks the wind out of your sails, and you just don't feel good about it, and you want to go home thinking I left it all out on the field. And hopefully it came out to a better outcome than what we would.
I think the biggest thing for us is, when you see our locker room after a game, it didn't matter what game you go to this year. If you sat in our locker room, our kids were invested. You can see it in their eyes. You can see it in the way they act. You can see it in how hard they take it. So I know that our kids are invested in what they're doing. We just need to get over that hump. I don't know when it's going to take or how it's going to happen, but I know if we keep working hard, we will.
Well, Coach, we appreciate the time. Should be a good one on Friday night, and hopefully come out with a victory down there on the road against Martins Ferry. We'll have a win to talk about next week. So
thank you very much.
Good luck to you, Coach.
Thank you, guys.
Appreciate
good luck to you, Coach.
Thank you.
All right, let's take a timeout. We'll be back with Toronto head coach Josh Frankie coming up after these messages.
Everhart Bove Funeral Home, they believe you should take care of your loved ones while you still can. Pre-planning at Everhart Bove ensures that your family won't have to worry about the stress of final arrangements during this most difficult time. More importantly, they won't have to worry about how they'll pay for it. Visit Everhart Bove Funeral Home today and discover all the affordable options available. Everhart Bove Funeral Home, Wintersville, Richmond, and Burgolds.
Thanks, Everhart Bow Funeral Home, for sponsoring Indian Creek head coach Andrew Connor on the Ohio Valley Sports Online Coaches Show.
More and more these days, it feels like sports are losing out to hype. Who dissed who? Who signed the fattest contract? Who got busted for cheating? Lost 2 is the unique capacity sports have to inspire us, to unite us. Well, great news, sports fans. Sports are still being played for the right reasons. They're still as entertaining as they are character building. You just have to know where to find it. And you only have to look as far as your local Ohio high school. You know, the place where the games are exciting, concessions are affordable, and the parking is free. Where the emphasis is on hustle and heart instead of hype. If you prefer real, honest-to-goodness sport played for all the right reasons, you'll find it at your hometown high school. High school sports. Games are being played this weekend at an Ohio high school near you. Okay, everybody, who's in?
This message presented by the Ohio High School Athletic Association and the Ohio Interscholastic Athletic Administrators Association.
Being a teenager is tough.
There's the constant pressure to be liked.
Endless worrying about college.
Cyberbullying, high expectations, all the negativity.
There's no question. Being a teenager is tough. And what do Ohio's teens do when they want to block out the noise and clear their heads?
We play! Yeah!
Research shows that teenagers who participate in high school sports have lower stress levels, more confidence, and greater self-esteem. And then there's the biggest benefit of all.
High school sports are fun.
Not just fun.
They're a lot of fun.
Encourage your teenagers to participate in a sport or activity when they go to high school. They'll stress less and smile more. And they'll be laying the foundation for a happier, healthier future.
This message presented by the Ohio High School Athletic Association and the Ohio Interscholastic Athletic Administrators Association.
Meet Josh.
Hi, everybody.
Josh is a high school basketball player, solid shooter, great teammate.
Hey, don't forget my tenacious D.
And he's my son.
Oh.
So, what does Josh do to be the best basketball player he can be?
I play tennis.
Studies show that student athletes here in Ohio who play more than one high school sport are more likely to excel. Tennis does more than improve Josh's conditioning. It gives him a fresh competitive outlet, reduces the risk of injury by cross-training, and introduces him to different coaching techniques and new friends.
Don't get me wrong, hoops are my first love. Tennis just gives me a little break.
So when the new season begins, Josh isn't burned out on basketball. He's eager to play, and you can see the difference in his game.
This message presented by the Ohio High School Athletic Association and the Ohio Interscholastic Athletic Administrators Association.
This is Jerry Snodgrass, Executive Director of the Ohio High School Athletic Association. One of my long-standing goals is to help people understand that high school sports are about so much more than wins and losses. The OHSAA promotes education-based athletics, where sports are an extension of the classroom. Our schools all want to win. There's no doubt about it. But at the end of the day, it's all about sportsmanship, leadership, and making certain that academics are a priority. Thank you for your support of high school sports in Ohio.
This is Ohio Valley Sports Online, your connection to Ohio Valley sports. Listen anywhere in the world from any connected device, smartphone, tablets, iPads, and computers. Ohio Valley Sports Online brings you live game action from the guys with over 50 years in radio sports broadcasting.
And we're back here at Bennigan's for Toronto Red Knight Coaches Show, sponsored by J.E. Foster Funeral Home. It's always a pleasure to have Coach Josh Frankie of the Toronto Red Knights. Coach, thanks for joining us.
Thanks for having me, man.
Just get right to it. Tough week.
Yeah.
We all know the tough week. Ran into a buzzsaw.
Well, I don't know. Did we? It was first quarter was scoreless.
Right. Oh, yeah. I mean,
9 minutes into the second quarter, we had the ball on the 3-yard line.
Yep.
We run a QB sneak. I'm pretty certain he was in, and got an illegal procedure call because one of our receivers weren't set. And, that's kind of the wheels start falling off there.
Right,
So
exactly
that's,
right.
and again, it's, I feel like for 2 weeks I've sat here and I've told you that and we're beating ourselves, and it's just stupid little things like, again, not being able, and I get what our receiver was doing. Our receiver was trying to get out to the numbers and spread the defense out, and, but you run a QB sneak, you got to get set. But listen, that's on me.
That's a slow death, Coach. I don't know if that's on you because that is an infraction that drives every coach in the world crazy. A player that has nothing to do with the play at all gets set.
Well, and listen,
don't move when the ball moves.
Right, and listen, we don't go under center. We went under center there to run the QB sneak because, again, we have a 210-pound quarterback who runs physical, and we hadn't practiced it that week. But the coaching staff on the headset said, "Hey, let's get under center, let's sneak it here, So we sneak it. Something we haven't practiced, so that's on me. It's on the receiver for not getting set. But again, he's a very intelligent, high IQ football player. He's getting the guy out of the box. I get where he's coming from. And it's also on our quarterback. Like, I told our quarterback in film, you have to – it's like crossing the road. You got to look left. You got to look right. You got to look left again. Make sure everybody is set before you start your cadence. And, you got a young quarterback. He's still learning the ropes. And but, yeah, the wheels start falling off there. And
there's enough blame to go around, right,
sure.
Coach?
Listen, it's not one person. It's not one play. I think that's just the turning point right there of the game. We had other opportunities. We were driving at other points, and again, same kind of stuff happened. A botch snap over our head, or holding call, or something. It's just, it seems like every time we got a little bit of momentum, we were starting to move the ball, something happened.
And that's what I was going to say that to me, because we were there. We did the, It seemed like I know for sure the score of the game was not indicative of the game, because it's one of them. Okay, we've done great for first down, second down, and all of a sudden third down is a big play.
Right.
Or like you said, we're driving, the ball snapped over our head, and those little things just kept adding up, and eventually it goes from
landslides.
Like you said, and so.
Well, listen, they didn't do anything we didn't expect them to do. We knew they were going to take away anything over top of us. We knew they were going to blitz us, which seemed like they were blitzing every single play. And we tried to take what they gave us. Zeb went 18 of 31, and for sophomore quarterback, 18 of 31 is pretty good in my book. So I'll take that. I'll take that for a young quarterback. But, so but again, it's hard when you nickel and dime teams down the field. You have to play perfect, and sooner or later something bad would happen, and we would get behind the sticks, and when they're playing 4 deep over the top, it's hard to get anything deep downfield at that point. And then on the flip side, defensively, they didn't. It wasn't like they had some brilliant scheme to beat us, and they ran counter tray. Counter tray, and that's. I mean, literally, they scored probably 4 or 5 times on counter tray. Our linebackers weren't reading guards. They were getting manipulated by the backfield action. We practiced that play going into the week. We at halftime coached up that play even more. It's anytime you get a gap scheme offense, which is what we run. I mean, listen. I've made a killing off counter trade since I've been here. It's my favorite play in our offense, and when you're playing a gap scheme team like that, when you get the down blocks for the trap players coming through, you have to fill off the down block, and then your backside linebackers who are reading that guard that's pulling need to scrape over top. And we weren't getting either or. We weren't getting the guy that was filling off the down block, and we weren't getting the guy that was scraping over top. We went over it at halftime, and it's still, it's like sometimes, I think a lot of people don't realize that, when we're dealing with 14, 15, 16-year-old kids, it's the same as like what their parents are going through at home. Like, just because you tell them how to do it or what to do doesn't mean that they're necessarily going to do it. And so, again, it was one of those things where we're back to the drawing board this week. We're going over – we've kind of went back to the basics, like reading your keys, squeezing off down blocks, things of that nature, because we have another gap scheme team this week. So just got to get better. We just got to get better.
With saying that, Coach, and we talked just now about enough blame to go around for everybody. Sure. How's your practices been?
You know what? I laughed because we literally just had a conversation, the coaching staff, before I left the locker room, where this has been the best week of practice we've had all year. And we were worried about that. We had our coaches meeting Sunday night, and it was like, all right, we're on a 2-game losing streak here. We have another tough opponent coming up. We got to make sure these kids are upbeat. We got to make sure that they're staying positive. Like, this isn't the time to be coming down on them. Like, we need to be in pickup mode. And despite having some kids banged up and on a 2-game losing streak, the kids have been extremely upbeat. Practice has been great. I feel like we've accomplished a lot this week. I mean, we've been practicing in the rain, and the kids are still. Practice has looked really good, surprisingly good for a team that has just dropped two games. And I think there's a lot of reasons for that. I mean, I think our kids, we constantly preach the long-term picture to these kids. We're constantly talking about like, hey, like you're still right now, you're in 6th place, like you're 4-2, like you still have a winning record. Like we talked about, like, hey, at this point last year you were 2-4.
Right,
and,
right.
It was
point out the positives.
We've been in worse places than we are now, and and I know it's a topic of debate. But this week, I think playing music at practice has helped us continue to stay upbeat. Yeah. And then that's.
Don't tell me you're playing the rap music.
No. Listen. We played. Yesterday was 80s throwback music. So,
I like it.
So come on, Eileen, and Wham. We had some Wham. We had some Wham going, but I will say every day we have a different genre.
Hey, that's my mistake. We're talking about Toronto. There ain't no rap music being played.
No, we have rap music. We do have a day. We do have a day for hip hop, but every day is a different.
Not that new mumble rap stuff.
every day is a different genre, and every kid I think has their favorite day, but. I think I'm real big into psychology and the benefits of psychology, and I think music psychologically can do a lot of good things for you. And our kids, again, that energy, they fed off that energy this week, and I think it was a good thing we had the music this week.
Excuse me, Jason. That's a good thing that you're into psychology, because every child today needs a psychologist, but you're closer to their age than me, because I don't know what in the world they're thinking, So good for you, Coach.
Thank you.
No, what I was going to say, I try to take a positive, even after, I've always been that way, even after a loss, the positive. And the biggest key, the biggest thing, you mentioned it, you always do a good job of that. I'm going to bring something up and you beat me to it, is the job that the sophomore quarterback did in a tough situation without, his brother, going 18 for 31, because that's more passes than you usually throw.
Sure, absolutely.
And he was, over 50%, and he did a great job. And so in a loss, that's a tool that, okay, you can do this. If we need you to throw. And
well, listen, he was battling that hip the whole week that he sustained during Oak Glen. He took a very mature approach last week. He took a very mature is wrong. He took a very professional approach last week. I mean, he was rehabbing his hip 5 times a day probably with different stem treatments, ice, heat, you name it, and he really took care of himself last week. He grew up in my eyes last week, and then to go out there knowing you're not full 100%, maybe you're an 85%, but still going out there and playing his game and leading the offense. I mean, that's what you want to see out of a sophomore, and he played beyond his years, I think, and his experience. So very proud of him coming out. Despite the loss, very proud of him. He grew up, he did.
You said it right.
He stood in the pocket. Listen, he took some hits, man.
Yes, I was going to say that. He bounced off.
He took some hits. He was under pressure the entire night. And, when you have a kid who's playing under pressure as a sophomore and completing passes, I mean, that's what you want to see. You're heading in the right direction. I think, that's the biggest thing. And we as coaches talk is, listen, defensively, I started 3 freshmen last Friday. And, we only dressed 22 kids. They had 56 on their sideline. And yeah.
Oh, yeah.
And,
it was
so when you're starting 3 freshmen on defense, you got to assume the majority of their starters are juniors and seniors.
Exactly.
So, it's hard to see the clearing through the forest, but, we're playing a lot of young kids, and we're being competitive at times, and you're seeing those kids grow up a little bit. And again, whether you're talking about Zeb or you're talking about some of the other freshmen or some of the freshmen are playing, or some of the other sophomores that were playing, they're producing against kids that are older, stronger, more experienced than they are. So you kind of gotta. Again, we talk to the kids a lot about bigger picture. We're seeing the bigger picture here.
Right.
We're playing young kids against a larger school and older guys, and this is going to pay dividends. Hopefully in the playoffs, and hopefully going into next year where, we only got 2 seniors on the roster this year, and one of them didn't play. So
it's going to, and you're right. It's going to help. Coach Sack, that because you coached, coach me, you've coached forever. From the beginning of the year to the end of the year, it's going to help this year.
Oh, absolutely.
When you're playing division school, you're in the playoffs.
Us size schools, yeah.
Game experience.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Can't simulate it. You're right.
Well, let's take our first break here with Coach Josh Frankie. Been again sponsored by J.E. Foster Funeral Home. When we come back, we'll talk about this week's opponent, the Barnesville Shamrocks. We'll be right back after these messages.
The J.E. Foster Funeral Home has been proudly serving the communities of Toronto and Smithfield and all of Jefferson County for over 30 years. They are a family-owned funeral home, and they offer funeral and cremation services tailored to meet your needs, and they do so with professionalism, compassion, dignity, and respect. Jeff and Jay Foster would like to wish the best of luck to Toronto Red Knights and all of the teams up and down the Ohio Valley. If you or someone you know would like more information on how their family can help you guide your family in this time of need, please visit their website, www.jefosterfh.com. That is www.jefosterfh.com. Their motto, our emphasis on family carries over to yours. J.E. Foster Funeral Home, a proud sponsor of the Coaches Show.
It may not require a textbook, but it's filled with valuable lessons. It may not take place in a classroom, but it's an ideal environment for learning. It may not involve a diploma, but it can help prepare Ohio's young people for life. It's high school sports. High school sports can play a critical role in a student's overall education. In fact, studies show that students that participate in high school sports are more likely to enjoy greater levels of achievement in their academic lives. If you think high school sports are only about competition, think again. Better yet, think about attending a high school sporting event in your community. You'll be amazed by what you see. High school sports, a winning part of a complete education. This message presented by the Ohio High School Athletic Association and the Ohio Interscholastic Athletic Administrators Association.
Thanks, J.E. Foster Funeral Home, for sponsoring Toronto Red Knights head football coach Josh Frankie on the Ohio Valley Sports Online Coaches Show.
I can't believe we have to make this commercial.
It's ridiculous.
You'll think it's ridiculous too. Listen to this.
This commercial is about, well, it's about parents being rude at high school athletic events.
Ridiculous, right?
It gets worse. Studies show more than 75% of new high school officials are quitting because of bad adult behavior.
So now there's a shortage of refs here in Ohio, in almost all sports.
No officials means no more games.
Is that what you want for us?
Come on, parents.
It's time to grow up.
Cheer for your team.
Be proud of your children.
But stop being so ridiculous.
And don't make us run another commercial.
Because we will.
This message presented by the Ohio High School Athletic Association and the Ohio Interscholastic Athletic Administrators Association, reminding you to always practice good sportsmanship.
What's Barnesville's record, Coach?
Undefeated.
I thought they had one loss.
Nope, they're good. They're undefeated.
And we're back here at Finnegan's Live.
All right, Coach. When it rains, it pours, right?
Listen, man, we knew what we were coming into. We knew that we were going into after we got through those first 3 games, we knew we were going into a pretty tough 4-game stretch. And we obviously got one with Buckeye Local. Let Oak Glen kind of slip through our hands. They got ahead a little early. Edison's a good football team, and now we have Barnesville, another good football team. So
get your medal tested. That's for sure.
You're right, man. I mean, listen, that's and again, I think next week after this week, next week we play Weir at Madonna, and I think they have about 20 kids on their roster. So we're gonna see how that's benefited us. I think when you go up against another school your size, was it worth going through 4 weeks of playing bigger, stronger, tougher opponents? Is it going to benefit us? We'll find out next week. But we got one more to get through. Tough team. It's again,
this week's Barnesville's your opponent,
yep.
Undefeated.
Yes, and tough game. It's there. It's on grass, so that's something that we're not accustomed to anymore. Every other game this year is on turf, so we got to go down there and listen. They're a tough team. They're experienced. They had a heck of a team last year, and that's what we gotta be ready for. We got to be prepared for that.
That was my favorite little Frankie's going by the Michigan fans.
Yeah.
Well, tell us a little bit, Coach, what offensively, you mentioned earlier another gap technique. What do they bring to the table as far as, what they like to run? Are they a big squad? Are they a finesse?
They're relatively big up front. I don't think if we're gauging them, I think, Buckeye and Edison are a little bit bigger up front than they are, but they're really well coached. And, I have a good relationship with their head football coach. He does an excellent job. They're a very disciplined football team. They don't make many mistakes. Like I mentioned, their gap scheme. They're going to line up in the I formation. They're going to line up double tight Maryland I. They're going to line up in double tight shotgun and run the quarterback. They do a little bit of everything. They love their trick plays. They probably run 2 or 3 trick plays a game. That you got to be ready for anything at that point. But again, they're going to run some counter tray. They're going to run some buck sweep. They're going to run some trap. They're going to run some ISO, some power. They sprinkle a little bit of everything in there. There's no real. They'll even go 3x2 empty. So there's no real this is what we do. It's what we do is everything.
Yeah,
so
well, just knowing, just in what you said, just knowing it about the fact that they're prone to do a trick play or two.
Sure.
Makes the defense always a bit hesitant.
Absolutely.
In certain formations, down in distances and stuff.
Absolutely, yeah. We've seen, and they do just about everything. We've seen halfback passes. We've seen double passes. We saw a play where, they have a kid that's standing on the, inch of the sideline, 10 yards behind the line of scrimmage, and nobody even recognizes he's out there, and he takes off down the field. I mean, we've seen a little bit of everything. They do the muddle huddle stuff on their extra point where they could, run it and, throw it out to the guy where the whole line is lined up to the sideline. So they do a little bit of everything. You got to be prepared for it.
Now you just raised my interest, Coach, on the fact of a trick play. I know that before the game, I'm sure the referees talk to you about anything we should be aware of
Yep.
and things like that. Is that something that a coach has to give up?
To the officials, yes.
Yes.
Yep, absolutely. I mean,
you have to make the officials aware.
Yeah, I mean, to a certain extent, if it's something kind of really bizarre off the wall, it's good that you let them know. But if you're running like you're going to run a toss play and the tailback's going to throw it downfield.
No,
I mean,
okay.
I think you can get away with that without saying anything.
We've seen this. It happened last year or the year before. They tried to do it again this year. I'm not going to say who it was, but they come off the sideline and they didn't huddle. They went straight to the line. But they had one player do exactly what you said.
So here's the rule on that.
Right there.
That lonesome end. Can they do that?
They
so
did it.
we actually attempted to do this against Edison on a fake punt. It didn't work. We actually had to kill it. We have a fail safe in where if they align to it properly, we kill it and we actually run a punt. But so the rule is that the player who is the hide player has to start with inside the hash marks.
Okay.
So if you run, the way you're talking, the whole team would have to run out past the hash, and then at that point, it almost needs to look like a player didn't realize he was supposed to be in, and then come out, and then just go stand on the sideline, almost like he's running out of the play.
I got you.
So, but they have to start inside the hash mark when they blow the ball live.
See, now that you explain, I'll tell you, it was Dover a couple. Remember they did that to us up there, and they scored on it.
Yeah, the rule is very specific, and again, we did it last week, and it's almost supposed to look like you have too many kids out there. One kid comes out, but you do have to have him start inside the hash mark.
Okay, thank you for explaining that. I appreciate that. Let's talk about like you said, this is a tough squad year in, year out. Defensively, how do they line up,
Same defense, and I will say that's the one thing that kind of benefits us is they haven't really changed much over the last couple of years. So we've played them now. This will be my third time playing Barnesville. They're a 4-4, and what they do is anytime that you go like any 2x2 sets where you're gonna have 4 receivers, you're gonna have a balanced split in the field. Their outside linebacker will drop back to a second high safety. So. If you give a 3x1, you sometimes he kind of flirts in the box. Sometimes he drops back into that 2-high look. But you can get them into a 2-high out of the 4-4, which, makes them very balanced because, a lot of times, as a team, if I see somebody's running a 4-4 and I know they're going to either be playing cover 1 or they're going to play cover 3 over top with single high safety. So what I will do is I'll spread the field out and I'll try to get those outside linebackers out into space.
Yes.
And so then I have a 6-man box. And if I can run against a 6-man box, QB read, QB ice, or anything like that, you can mimic the numbers to get that 6-on-6.
Right.
But what they do is they drop that outside linebacker to an additional second high safety, and that kind of ruins it kind of ruins your intentions of clearing the box out and getting a one-on-one matchup. For example, one of the favorite things you want to do against 4 cover 3 or cover 1 is you want to run 4 verts. And if you run 4 verts, you look off the high safety to one way, and then you can hit the seam player on the backside. And so it's 4-4 killer, cover 3 killer. But when they drop that additional second high safety up, you can't really run 4 verts because they got 4 guys over top of you. Right. So, it's just they do things that. But again, on top of that, it allows you as an offensive play caller. For somebody that doesn't really understand football too much, like every team you play has rules, and if you watch the film enough, you can figure out what their rules are.
Their tendencies.
Yeah. So if all right, if you give them a 3x1 or a 2x2, and you go 4 receivers, you're going to get a second high safety, and by knowing that, now I can scheme up ways that I want to attack what your adjustments are. If I can get you to adjust certain ways, I can attack it. Now, listen. that all depends on whether the kids want to execute the game plan. But
it always comes down to execution, right, Coach?
It always looks good on paper. You're right. Everything always looks good on paper, but it doesn't always pan out that way. And again, they're a disciplined football team. They're going to be ready. They're going to have adjustments for things that we like to do offensively. So that's the chess match of the game. I think it's the fun part. So.
How are you? I know you're banged up. We have a few people that obviously. But just from last week's game, everybody okay?
We got a couple more guys banged up. Had some kids that missed a little bit of practice this week, but I think they're going to be those kids that did miss. I think they're going to be good by Friday. Final clearance is probably going to come tomorrow for a couple of them. But what stinks is. Again, I'm a very optimistic person. So what stinks is those kids aren't practicing, but the optimistic spin of that is the backups are getting plenty of reps.
Right.
So they're learning and getting more practice reps than they normally would. So you would like to think that your projected starters already know what's going on. So this is allowing your backup guys to get more time. But we go back to this every week. Zane is a day by day kind of thing. Last week we were thinking like, all right, this might be the week. He's moving around good. He's kind of practicing a little bit here and there. I think we're close. Would I put it? Zane's one of the toughest kids on the team. Would I be surprised if Zane comes on Friday and was like, hey, I'm playing tonight? I would not be the least bit surprised in that. But I wouldn't be surprised if he's like, Coach, I need another week, and that's okay too. I'm never going to rush somebody back to jeopardize their health.
Especially we've talked about the big picture of things. I mean, I'll go ahead and say it. You're pretty much it. You're in.
Right.
So why get him rushing back, get him hurt for the big picture?
Right, and that's the biggest concern here is if you. Okay, this is a big game for us, and we'd really like to win this one, and we'd love for him to play. But if he were to play and re-injure that injury, and it prevents him from playing the whole rest of the year, including the playoffs, it's probably not worth it.
Right,
No.
Exactly.
So
I got to ask you, we'll let you go here, Coach. How's my man Lazarus in the 8th grade doing?
You know what? I just got done watching on one of the parents were Facebook Live. They went down and played Lindsley. It was tied. It was tied 24-24, and there was about a minute left, and Lindsley threw a deep bomb. They ended up catching it and trying to get the ball back with about 50 seconds. They actually drove down the field a little bit, but ended up losing in the end. But I mean, listen, to go toe-to-toe with Lindsley and get it to the final minutes of the game, they're a talented group. I got 16 8th graders moving up next year. So, I mean, obviously we're really looking forward to that. I mean, right now we have a roster of 28 with 2 seniors. So I'm going to lose those 2 seniors. We'll be down to 26, and then I'm getting 16. So, we're going to go from 28 to 42 the next weeks
or
the next year.
That's
yeah.
nice, yeah.
So, and then you probably get, you might get a couple more kids come out. So I'm hoping our numbers next year are around 45, which would be a huge difference from where we're at right now. So,
well, things are going in the right direction. Like you said, somebody like Brady Fair, one of the younger kids. You guys are doing, some of the other younger kids that I know personally are doing very well.
Oh, Brady Fair. Yeah. Brady Fair's going to play some this week. I mean, Brady Fair's been he's one of those kids that's been getting a lot of practice reps this week. He's like a little Mighty Mouse, man. He's not very big, but he is slippery, and his lateral speed is probably some of the best that we have on the team, and he does not drop balls. That ball touches him in the hands, he's catching it. I think Brady Fair is going to be a very good player for us one day. He's just learning right now.
Yeah, not to slight any other younger kids.
No,
He's
absolutely.
just one of the kids that I know.
Listen, our freshman class is very talented,
right.
and that's, we have a large freshman class, very talented. A lot of kids are seeing playing time. And, they're going to have an 8th grade class coming up next year that is very, very talented as well, that are going to push them. You know what I mean? That's what it's all about.
That's the key, Coach. Right. You just said right there, the key in high school sports, I believe, is having 2 good years back to back.
They're going to push
I mean, you can't have a good year, bad year, good year. I mean, class,
Listen,
class-wise.
Well,
if you get them 2 years together, I think you got a nice shot to make a move.
You're absolutely right. And I'll tell you what, this has been the best scout team that we've had since I've been here, because a lot of those freshmen are finding themselves on the scout team, and they are a competitive group of kids. They practice extremely hard, and they push our starters, and that you're seeing that translate, I think, to some of our success that we are
That's good
having.
stuff. That's good stuff. Yep.
Well, things are going well there, Coach. And we're going to wish you luck this Friday.
Thanks,
your
man.
trip down to Barnesville.
Good luck, Coach.
Thank you. I
Coach
appreciate
Josh
it.
Frankie, the Toronto Red Knights, sponsored by
Thanks, man.
J.E. Foster Funeral Home. We'll be right back with Coach Eric Meek of the Steubenville Catholic Central Crusaders live at Bennigan's.
The J.E. Foster Funeral Home has been proudly serving the communities of Toronto and Smithfield and all of Jefferson County for over 30 years. They are a family-owned funeral home, and they offer funeral and cremation services tailored to meet your needs, and they do so with professionalism, compassion, dignity, and respect. Jeff and Jay Foster would like to wish the best of luck to Toronto Red Knights and all of the teams up and down the Ohio Valley. If you or someone you know would like more information on how their family can help you guide your family in this time of need, please visit their website, www.jefosterfh.com. That is www.jefosterfh.com. Their motto, our emphasis on family carries over to yours. J.E. Foster Funeral Home, a proud sponsor of the Coaches Show.
It may not require a textbook, but it's filled with valuable lessons. It may not take place in a classroom, but it's an ideal environment for learning. It may not involve a diploma, but it can help prepare Ohio's young people for life. It's high school sports. High school sports can play a critical role in a student's overall education. In fact, studies show that students that participate in high school sports are more likely to enjoy greater levels of achievement in their academic lives. If you think high school sports are only about competition, think again. Better yet, think about attending a high school sporting event in your community. You'll be amazed by what you see. High school sports, a winning part of a complete education. This message presented by the Ohio High School Athletic Association and the Ohio Interscholastic Athletic Administrators Association.
A pioneer of casual dining, Bennigan's is internationally known for its unique neighborhood vibe and exceptional chef-driven food. Come to Bennigan's on University Boulevard to stir up a great memory. Come for happy hour Monday through Friday from 3 to 6 p.m. and get $1 off draft and bottled beer and $1 off signature cocktails. Grab some bar bites too, only $5 from 9 p.m. to close. Hey, are you a soccer fan? Check out the schedule of English Premier League soccer games. Bennigan's even has delivery service, and the number to call, 740-792-8080. You got a friend at Bennigan's.
Sorry, Coach, we're on air, so I'll have to give you my tips during this.
Okay. And we're back, folks, live
I'll
here.
have to give it to you live, Coach, instead of behind the scenes.
Sounds good.
We're back at Bennigan's here with Coach Eric Meek for Steubenville Catholic Central Crusaders. This portion brought to you by our host, Bennigan's. Check them out, folks. Great food, great atmosphere. Come down Wednesday nights. Watch the show live. Coach Meek, back with you here again. Tough game. Before we go there, Coach Sack.
Yeah, even more important than Coach Meeks, who I love and respect. Got to give a shout out to my grandkids, two of my 5 grandchildren, Carlo and Gigi. They're home watching it because they love their no-no. So I got to say hello to them, as well as the number 1 Crusader, JoJo Aulette, the only guard that Big Red can never press.
Toledo Rocket.
So, Toledo Rocket. So I want to say hello to everybody, and Carlo, Gigi, go get your bath now.
There we go. But, Coach, tale of 2 games, actually 3 different games in one. They jumped out 14-0, couple turnovers, they take the lead. But right after that, you guys seized the momentum, tied the game, and controlled the game down to the last 3 minutes and a couple big plays. So, like I said, 3 different things. Give us, your synopsis of, just what happened, because I thought, they got them. They got them. You had all the momentum. You had them down, and then.
Yeah, it was definitely a game of momentum. I mean, they started off with the momentum, went up 14-0, and then all of a sudden we started stopping them time after time, and we started moving the ball, and we made it 14-14 and almost made it 21-14 going into the half.
Yes.
And I really felt like we had the momentum at halftime, and it was back and forth. Neither team could score. And, you know, the bottom line is we moved the ball, and it was a hard-fought football game by both teams. But you don't beat a good football team when you turn the ball over 5 times and don't get any.
Right.
So we lost a turnover margin 5-0, and
wow,
yeah, 5-0.
And like you said, the one was key because you were getting ready to score.
Yeah, and you know, it's, you know, then of course after the one they scored on the long play with 3.5 minutes, and then we threw another pick and they scored again.
Yeah.
So, you know, it was turnovers, but give Madonna credit. Their kids played very hard, but we're definitely, you know, it's getting to the point this late in the season now as we head into October, you don't want to use the words moral victories.
Right.
But it's getting a little bit tiring. But, boy, we have definitely improved as a football team. We're not the same team we were back.
And I agree with you 100%.
August.
You can see it, you know, just from doing the games and watching from, you know, the Matthews game or the Week 1 game. You know, the tackling's better. Like, I never remember saying this to Jags several times during the game. A host of Crusaders on the tackle.
Right.
A host of everybody's getting tacked. I mean, you can see the improvement. They moved the ball coach a lot. I mean, you got, I forget how many total yards I was doing the stats, but it was one of the best games, if not the best, all year as far as yardage on offense. And it just came down to me, and maybe correct me if I'm wrong. Once again, you know, we might stop them here 2 or 3 plays, and bam, they hit the big play with the speed
big play.
guy.
The big play has hurt us all year defensively, but you take the other 20 plays in between the big plays, and we play really outstanding football. And, you know, the first 2 games, it's almost like we were on our heels defensively, and not just defensively, the entire team. And, you know, our offense has definitely been behind our defense. But starting the Wellsville game, and then Rosecrans, then Edison, and then Madonna, now our kids are starting to realize that it's okay to attack them instead of letting them attack us.
Right,
and
that's perfect.
And, you know, I think that we're just playing much more aggressive football. And we're the first 2 games I use the words to the kids and on this show, backyard football, which you can't play in high school football. You know that, Raymond. And I don't see us playing as much backyard football, which means the kids are learning how to play the game.
Well, I wanted to say that, Coach. From everything that you said, and from what I've seen every home game other than this past one, and it was because we had our 50-year class reunion. Your kids are getting better, which tells me they're still practicing hard. So they're still invested, and they're still getting there. It's just that you have the same trouble with some other teams that we've talked to, just getting over that hump. You know, just finding a way to get over that hump. Because I'll tell you, offensively, what I like the best about your team is when Dorsey's in a small gun, and you got Purgie on one side and Fallon on the other, and you get him the ball right now. I like him in open field. And what was the game you played before this one that was at home?
Wellsville.
Well, no, it wasn't Wellsville, was it? Was it
Yeah,
Wellsville?
it was
Wellsville, when you was in that set, which the set that I'm telling you about, what tells me is you got some players that are going to be good. They're just young. Tommy Purgie and that Fallon plays hard. You got a chance to win with those type of kids.
This is interesting. Are you saying when they're out wide?
I loved it. When
guess what? He's going to be mad at me.
Will you give Tommy Purgie the ball?
They're both in the backfield.
Well,
now,
you know what?
Raymond.
Then you've been listening to his grandpa, because his grandpa tells me that all the time at church.
Who's grandpa?
Tommy Purgie's grandpa, Phil Purgie.
I don't think I've ever met him.
He tells me, he goes, Tommy wants to run the football.
Do I look like a guy that would listen to?
No, you look very unapproachable to me.
I need my credit card back.
That's a good idea, brother.
But
but I like that. So you moved them in the backfield.
They're now in the backfield.
Was that just this week?
last week.
Okay.
And
Yeah,
BJ didn't get as many carries, and it wasn't by – it was just the way of the flow of the game. But we feel that we found our guys.
Well, that's what that was my point.
But
that was my point. I think that those two kids right there are your most effective or possibility of a game breaker, play breaker.
I got to get Raymond on my staff now.
Purgie and Fallon, and I like that. Now, I didn't know you moved them to the backfield, but I think that those two kids give you a chance to move the football.
But they're also out wide.
They're also,
I like them. I like those two players.
Yeah. So isn't that amazing?
You know, but
I did a little bit of coaching in my time, Coach. You know what I mean?
It also does, you saw it more this game too. It frees up a little bit. Who I think is one of the best players in the Valley and is going to be great next year, Tyler Lentai.
Mm-hmm.
And he was our player of the game this week.
Right.
It frees him with them two back there. There's Tyler, bam, you know, because as you said, now he's concentrating on these two. Then Tyler's open a little bit more, or like you said, nope. Purgie and Fowler are back out here.
I like those two players. They stood out to me.
So we have Andrew. Let me give Raymond a rundown since he missed last week. So
I'll be there Saturday.
We have Andrew Dorsey at quarterback.
I'm with you winter time.
Okay. I've heard that one before. And then we in the backfield, we have Tommy Purgie, B.J. Fallon, Jason Hills.
Joey
at time, and then at receiver or tight end. It's interchangeable. You got Tyler Lentai, Purgie.
That's number 14.
Yeah,
I like him too.
B.J. Fallon. You got Nico Petrella, who's a senior. Michael DiCarlo's been out. Hills can be out there. So we have a number of guys that we can move around. But I think right now, as far as I think right now that Purgie is starting to really – Tommy Purgie, only a sophomore.
I like him.
And he's starting to really feel comfortable. In fact, just as I came to the show, he was coming in from the weight room. I said, "You getting comfortable now?" And he smiled and said, "Yes, Coach." And BJ only had one carry. He should have had more. And it's nothing to do with the play. It's just the way the game was flowing. But then our line, we also, Nico Petrella, Tyler Lentai, and Cam Bradley's been playing tight end. And then you got at center Cody Carver.
Bradley's a sophomore.
Yeah. Well, a lot of, I only got 4 seniors right now playing. So then you got Cody Carver at center. And then on the right side, Cody's a junior. You got Braden Rouch at right guard, who's a junior. And then his younger brother, Peyton Rouch, at right tackle, is a sophomore. And then Brendan Grimm is at left guard, and he is a junior. And then Willie Rao is a left tackle, and he is a senior. So we got a lot of young kids that are getting valuable experience.
And you know what I wanted to bring up, too, because those guys, not only on the offensive side of the ball, because being a smaller school, they're playing both ways. I just wanted to, commend all night the pressure that the Roush brothers, as you said, Brendan Grimm, Malachi.
Right.
They've guys were in the backfield.
Yeah.
And that team, Coach, Madonna has some speed.
Yes.
And they neutralized it for most of the game. There might have been 1 or 2 big plays here.
When you see the way that they played Matthews and then how we played Matthews week 1, of course, we dropped about 7 passes.
Yes, I remember that.
But still,
And an interception that could have been.
But I just feel that every week since game 2, games 1 and after game 2, I was like, oh man, but from Wellsville, I saw the spark at Wellsville, and then every week we're playing better and we're improving. And I told them last week, Raymond, on the show that, we're going to turn this thing around. I don't know if it's going to be this year. I hope so. We're running out of weeks, but it's going to turn around, and it's fun. You went to Central, so you know what I'm about to say. You're going to understand this. These are wonderful kids, and what a culture. My daughter now goes to Catholic at DeMusio. She's in 7th grade. And she said, from the religious standpoint to the culture, you walk through the hallways, great kids, great support system. it's fun.
You got to do something
Except
about
for-
the athletic director, though, Coach. You got to do something about Mike Barber.
He's been very good to me, giving me everything I've asked for.
Well, you know what? He's done that because he
Yeah.
is. I mean,
Right.
Mike Barber's committed to Central.
Sure.
I mean, his whole life, his whole family
Right.
has been there. I mean, like, I don't know whether people know it or not, but, he does the job for free.
Sure.
And he puts that money somewhere else. And nobody wants to win as much as him.
Right, you're right.
And I like some of the personnel that you have, and I'm glad that they're playing hard,
Right.
and I'm glad that you have that attitude because, Coach, it ain't easy losing, man.
It's not.
It's not easy
And
losing.
I just last night, I saw someone saw me from Central, and they said, "Are you hanging in there?" And I'm like, "I'm doing great." It's not fun to lose, but not about me because the kids are so great. I want them to be successful. But, here's the thing, too. Mike Barber said to me 3 weeks ago, he looked me in the eye and said, "You stay the course." And we're going to stay the course, and we are. And like I said a week ago, it's so fun, this process, except for not winning. But I'm telling you, it's going to happen, and we're going to look back. And I'm not usually one to say it. I guarantee it's going to happen, Raymond. It's going to happen, and I'm hoping this year, but if it doesn't, I think it'll be next year.
Definitely next year.
We'll
yeah.
turn
I
the
commend
corner.
you for that, Coach,
Yeah.
because I think as coaches,
Right.
I think when you're losing and you're getting beat up, I think not only does it make the kids better, but it makes you better
Right.
as a coach. You know
Well,
what I mean? And we do our best coaching jobs in those situations.
And part of my faith in saying that is because I see the kids, and I know that the kids believe, and they're, a lot of teams are 1-5 across the state of Ohio, across the United States, that have already packed it.
Right.
The Catholic Central kids have not packed it.
But that's good to hear, I'll tell
Right.
you that. That's good to hear.
So, and I just have a really good feeling, and I think that, I think our numbers will be up next year, another year in the off season. I got hired in the middle of March, and hopefully, if people see what we're doing, and the culture of the school alone.
They started some things up here with the junior high program,
Right.
haven't they?
Yes.
Is that back or
Yeah.
first year back?
Oh,
or
you mean the young kids?
Yeah, the 7th and 8th
Saints.
grade. Yeah.
The 7th and 8th, and then we have the Saints grades. Let me see.
But
6,
the junior,
5,
but
4,
the junior Crusaders, is this their first year back, or have they
No,
been
they've
back?
been back a few years.
Okay,
But so we played our first JV football game Monday night in about
Wow.
5 years.
Yeah,
Now
I was going to say, how long's that
The
been?
score wasn't real good, but we went against Southern Local, who was really good. But just having that first game is a big step in this whole process.
I agree.
Let's take a short break here. We're Coach Eric Meek, Steubenville Catholic Central. We come back, we'll talk about this week's opponent, the Carrick. I don't know what Carrick. Raiders. You're listening to Ohio Valley Sports Online
A
Coaches
pioneer
Show.
of casual dining, Bennigan's is internationally known for its unique neighborhood vibe and exceptional chef-driven food. Come to Bennigan's on University Boulevard to stir up a great memory. Come for happy hour Monday through Friday from 3 to 6 p.m. and get $1 off draft and bottled beer and $1 off signature cocktails. Grab some bar bites too. Only $5 from 9 p.m. to close. Hey, are you a soccer fan? Check out the schedule of English Premier League soccer games. Bennigan's even has delivery service. And the number to call? 740-792-8080. You got a friend at Bennigan's.
The game is over, but this time, instead of asking how many goals did you score or what were your stats, try asking these questions. Were you a good teammate? Were you coachable? Did you give 100%? And did you have fun? Because those are the values that school sports instill in Ohio's young people, where winning and losing are secondary to the life lessons that will stay with kids long after their playing days are over. This is the Ohio High School Athletic Association. Educate through sports.
I can't believe we have to make this commercial.
It's ridiculous.
You'll think it's ridiculous too. Listen to this.
This commercial is about
Well, it's about parents being rude at high school athletic events.
Ridiculous, right?
It gets worse. Studies show more than 75% of new high school officials are quitting because of bad adult behavior.
So now there's a shortage of refs here in Ohio, in almost all sports.
No officials means no more games.
Is that what you want for us?
Come on, parents.
It's time to grow up.
Cheer for your team.
Be proud of your children.
But stop being so ridiculous.
And don't make us run another commercial.
Because we will.
This message presented by the Ohio High School Athletic Association and the Ohio Interscholastic Athletic Administrators Association, reminding you to always practice good sportsmanship.
Thanks a lot for following us at Ohio Valley Sports Online. Why not visit our webpage at OhioValleySportsOnline.com? It's the way to go for sports fans around the globe to follow your favorite local sports teams.
And we're back here at Bennington with Coach Eric Meek this week at home Saturday night against the Carrick Raiders, which you discussed, when we were off air, a lot better this year.
Yes.
They're 2-3.
Yes. So we went to see them 2 weekends ago on a Friday night. They played at Brownsville, Pennsylvania, and won the game like 46 to nothing, something like that.
42-8, yep.
And very impressed with their. First off, I was very impressed with their athleticism. Second thing is they have a new coaching staff, and they look like they're really organized and disciplined. And the third thing is I think they've been 0-10. I thought someone said like 3 straight years. They've won 2 games now.
Yeah,
and I talked to Reno when Reno was walking out, and I was coming in tonight. They played Obama last week. Carrick did, and of course Big Red played Obama, and Reno said Obama was very athletic.
Very.
Now Obama did beat Carrick, but it's the speed is a concern. But we're gonna, just like I told the kids 2 weeks ago going into Edison, and then I told them last, we just now need, besides knowing the other team's game plans and stuff, we need to worry about ourselves and just take care of ourselves. And every day at practice, every rep, get better and better and better. Every time we're in the weight room after practice or before practice, every rep on the bench or on the squat, on the deadlift, take it one rep at a time and just improve with the intensity and the belief. And, but it's going to be a tough challenge. I mean, they're I think, a much better team than they were a year ago from what I've seen and looking at last year's film. So, it's a game we definitely want to win like all the games, but we just got to improve.
And like you said, from going 0-10, and Coach, you said wins are important. They're 2-3.
Right.
They did beat, Carlington earlier in the year.
Carlington, the opener.
And they scored 42 against Brownsville, so they can put points
Yes.
on the board. What type of offense are we? They spread the ball.
They'll spread you out in the gun. Spread, I call it trips open, trips on one side with a split end. And then defensively, they run a 40, a 4-4. They put I call it a one technique. Some coaches, they put a guy right on the inside of the guard. And, they have good speed in the secondary.
And,
Coach, I'm sorry,
Coach.
Coach.
No, you're up, Coach. I'm sorry.
He gets mad whenever I cut him off, Coach. But my attitude on this, being realistic, you don't want the kids to think like this, but as you go through the year, you have to, as a coach, looking through film and everything that we do, you get a good idea of teams that you think that you can beat. Some teams you look at, and you can look at the film all day and say, well, we're really going to be challenged here. I don't know if we can win. I think this is a game here that your squad is capable of winning.
Yeah, after the way we played a week ago,
Yes.
I don't think anyone thought that, now going into the season, I thought Madonna was a game that was very
So did
gettable.
I.
But
So
they've
did I.
got a different makeup now of their roster.
But
And when
that's
I
a
saw
game,
it-
Coach, that's a beautiful game.
Yeah.
It's been played
Right.
forever. You know what I mean? And I hope it continues.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Oh yeah, and but we want to go get this team, but they are much better and than they've been in the past, and You know, there's going to be some challenges, but we just, again, got to just worry about ourselves and improve in all aspects. And hopefully at the end of the game, you know, we have more points than they do, and we can say, wow, we got better this week again.
I don't, like Coach was saying, this Carrick team, City League team, right? Or
Yes.
Okay, outside the
Yes.
City League. And I lost my track. There was something I wanted to say, and I just lost it, so I had to backtrack it. I didn't want to say it a certain way. But I know they're going to come edgy. They're going to come with a chip on the shoulder, I like to say the City League teams have. And penalty-wise or toughness-wise, there's a difference. Like I always say, Coach Sack, and you guys play to the echo of the whistle. You know, how do you prepare that way for should things get a little bit chippy
Well, there's been several teams, to be quite frank with you, that
Right.
have been chippy with us all year, and our kids have done what we've said. You play football and you get back in the huddle. And, you know, our kids, I think that, like I said, the first two games we might have been a little bit nervous about that, but our kids now, they just get back in the huddle and play. So I'm not too concerned about that because of the character of our young men.
Right. And you're right. Go ahead, Coach. I'm sorry. I didn't mean
No,
to
I'm
cut you
saying
off.
that was a problem for Carrick last year.
That's what made me bring
I get
it
a
up,
chance
yeah.
to say that because they had some incidents with Central, and they were very unorganized. So they're a much improved team this year, and they're going to present a lot of challenges. How are you preparing for them defensively?
Defensively, well, we're gonna try to put some. I don't think anyone from Carrick's watching this.
They're
but
not listening.
We're going to try to put some pressure up front on the defensive line, and then give our corners a little bit of cushion in the back, a little bit of help behind them. If you know what I'm saying?
Good. Yeah, that's got to be
to keep everything in front of us.
That's got to be a big problem for you because I know they're probably going to be faster than us.
Right.
How are they physically up front? How do we match up?
They have some line, but their pressure comes from the outside. You mean defense? Their defense.
Yes.
Yeah, their pressure will come from the outside. So I'm hoping that if we can keep them sealed, we can get up inside. You know, last week even I was very concerned about two very good stand-up, athletic, tall defensive ends, Madonna, and we did some things game plan-wise. They were excellent players. I'm not very good, but we did some things to minimize what they could do to hurt us, and we have some things hopefully in store Saturday night against Carrick that can keep their athleticism at bay.
How's your schedule look after Carrick, Coach? Who you have?
Week 8, we go to Bridgeport on a Friday, and then week 9 and 10 are both home on Saturday. Week 9 against Connaughton Valley, and then 10 against Toronto.
Right, and I know a lot of people don't like bringing that up, but you're still not out, Coach. I mean,
yeah, well,
it could be week 11.
Yeah.
I mean, but
back in the old days, we'd be out, but
this
is the way this is now.
So I mean, just keep pressing along, and you know, and just from doing the games. I remember when I used to coach, I always say, I can't promise you that we're going to win, but I promise you if your kids buy into, listen.
Well, they're playing very, very hard.
They're going to get better from day one, and your team is.
Yeah, and weeks 1 and 2, I was like, oh man, we got to get some aggressiveness, some fire, and now I think they're relaxed and they understand that it's fun to play with a lot of passion and fire. And you know, I told them that something I'm proud of. It's not me. I think it's more the culture. This is my 23rd year as a head coach, and I really believe that 19 of my previous 22 teams, wherever I've coached as a head coach, have improved.
Right.
And I told them, and you're the 20th team that's improved. So keep doing it.
As an outsider, you can definitely see. You know, it's a pleasure watching. They're getting better and better each week.
I appreciate it.
Well, I think every Crusader that ever played there has the attitude that we ain't going to win all the time, but we want the other team to know they were in a game.
Right.
You know, And I think that, like I spoke to you about it earlier in the year about at the Baron dinner that we talked to. Central is just, this ain't happening overnight, and I'm glad for you to say. I'm happy to hear you say that it's going to happen.
It's going to happen
because everybody's pulling for you, Coach.
Good. Well, thank you. I've met a lot of great people since March, and I thank the Lord every day that I've been put in this position.
Good for you.
It's very
Good
humbling.
for you.
Well, that's going to do it here, Coach. We're going to wrap up another Wednesday night. Appreciate you every week. I know it's busiest time of year. Appreciate you taking your time out to come down with us and chat. And good luck to you. This Saturday night we'll be there once again, calling the game, cheering you on. So it's Coach Eric Meek, Steubenville Catholic Central here live at Bennigan's. Have a good evening, everybody.